to Tonight. This is the comedy show where Americans in America covering American news are still called foreign agents. Well, folks, it's almost here. It's almost time. The recession everyone has warned us about is just nearly ready to sit on our face. And I know you're thinking, how could we have a recession when our president has been a glowing beacon of stability and calm since the moment he got into office? You would think when Wall Street investors wake up every morning and see a failed game show host calling some other world leader a twat, you would think they would feel our economy is sure-footed as a fucking mountain goat. But no, for some odd reason, people are concerned. The Dow Jones has been incredibly volatile, losing over 1,000 points over the past month, and in fact, plunging 800 points in a single day. On top of that, insiders are selling stock like it's 2007 again. You know what happened after 2007? 2008, all right? And 2008 fucking sucked for everyone because it was a global financial crisis in which we gave trillions of dollars to assholes who already owned everything. They already had it. And we were like, here's a little left over. And then, of course, there's the big indicator of the recession that every media outlet has been talking about. If you turn on anything, they were talking about it, the famed inverted yield curve. Apparently, the inverted yield curve only happens before recessions hit. And it is happening right now. And I'm sure you're wondering, what in God's name is an inverted yield curve? Well, it's when the bond yields, they usually, you see, a bond okay, back up. The interest rate of a bond, I don't know what the fuck it is. I don't know what it is, okay? But I don't know. It means a recession is coming, okay? I can't know everything. The other day I learned something about Kanye West and the inverted yield curve stuff all fell out. Now, because Donald Trump knows that a recession means he won't get reelected, he has been running around saying everything is fine, unemployment is the lowest it's ever been, huzzah. First of all, when people are excited unemployment is low, that means they're excited the wage slavery of your average American is humming along nicely. Hey, really, let's get out a bucket of confetti and celebrate. And then let's pay somebody $3 an hour to clean it all up on their hands and knees. But beyond that, many of the jobs Trump is excited about are crappy nonsense jobs making $4 an hour to scrub pubes off of yoga mats or whatever, some first world bullshit job that we created just so people could go, I got a job. And you're like, what do you do? I bleach anuses for a living or whatever. I don't know. But here's the most important point. If you ignore that they're crappy jobs and that many people have stopped working altogether, stopped looking for work altogether, which doesn't get counted in the numbers, and that half my friends live in their parents' garages, which is awkward when I have to buy drugs from them. If you ignore all of that, then yes, unemployment is indeed below 4%. But as even Forbes has pointed out, historically speaking, when the U.S. unemployment rate falls under 4%, recessions follow soon after, because the economic cycle is already mature, the labor market is tight, and inflation is becoming a concern. So unemployment does not mean there's not a recession on the horizon. Donald Trump was wrong about something. Well, fucking call me tickled pink. There's a first time for everything, isn't there? Anyway, all the stuff I've said so far, you could probably find, or a lot of it find, on Forbes or CNBC or some other fucking network where the anchor's brain matter is made up of 80% Botox. They could tell you all this. But here's the part they don't dare say. We have an economic system that destroys people's lives once every 4 to 7 years. That's the average amount of time between busts. This time, it's 10 years, we're overdue. During the last financial crisis, millions of people lost their homes. Millions of people lost their jobs. There were estimated to be 10,000 suicides because of the last financial crisis. 10,000. And here we're running around worried that too many people are dying from terrorism or dying from taking selfies while driving or too many people got, accidentally impaled themselves on their own dildos so we have to make safety dildos that aren't so pointy. None of that matters. None of that holds a candle to to late-stage capitalism. 10,000 people killed themselves rather than deal with our horse's ass of an economic system. And this isn't counting the number of people dying because they don't have health care, or they spent their whole life eating McDonald's because they couldn't afford healthy food. And how did, speaking of that, how did it become okay for healthy food to be so goddamn expensive? If something has a little cartoon of a green leaf on the bag, your wallet is fucked. You do not want to see that thing there, because that sucks. You got to cash in your IRA just to get a sack of baby carrots. Which, by the way, are actually made from regular-sized carrots. They just cut them up real small, and then they go, look, they're babies. That's not a baby carrot. Look, if I take an adult human and I chop him up into little pieces, I can't very well call those baby humans, can I? And I've tried. Point is, we have an economy that regularly decimates lives and eats our planet to the point of extinction. And we are told to believe this is the best we can do. Are you sure? Are you sure this is it? There's nothing at all in our big, ugly brains that could develop an economy that works in concert with the carrying capacity of the Earth? There's nothing that might not collapse every 7 years, forcing people with college degrees to go get work, giving hand jobs at truck stops. That's truly the best we can do. We suffer from a lack of imagination. I think our ruling elites are full of shit. I think we could do much better. I believe in us. I believe in our ability to think and change and grow. I believe in a system that cares about everyone, a system that is sustainable and secure. And I can tell you, this ain't it. This is a fraud, and baby carrots are the tip of the iceberg. Coming from Washington, D.C., the belly of the beast is Redacted tonight.
Let's roll, never get their control. They got their money, but we got our soul. Let's roll, never get their control. They got their money, but we got our soul.
Welcome. I'm Lee Camp. Now let's take the news from behind. Folks, I come to you on a solemn day. This is not something I take joy in relaying to you all, but the news is the news, so I feel obligated to inform you of this tragedy. David Koch of Koch Industries has died. And it's tragic. He died at the terribly young age of 79, and I think I speak for everyone when I say he had so much more cruelty left to give. David, we hardly knew thee, you know? Sure, we knew your legendary greed, your incredibly abusive and exploitative belief system, your desire to suck out the planet's entire life-giving force. We knew of your willingness to crush your fellow man at all costs. But beyond that, we hardly knew thee. David Koch is survived by his beloved $50 billion. And our thoughts and prayers are with those dollars. In lieu of flowers, his family have asked that you send cold, hard cash to his gravesite. You know, some people say, don't speak ill of the dead, but you know what? And I say this in all due respect. Fuck those people. I do. I don't trust individuals who don't occasionally speak ill of Hitler. Okay? I mean, if you only say nice things about Pol Pot or Jeffrey Dahmer or Ronald Reagan, you creep me out. Anyway, considering how hard David Koch tried to make sure the planet would burn during his lifetime, I'm sure he would be happy to know that this month the Amazon rainforest is on fire. Brazil has 85% more fires burning than this time last year, up to 80,626 nationwide as of this past weekend. 80,000 fires, and much of this has been encouraged by Brazil's proto-fascist president, Jair Bolsonaro. And I use proto-fascist in the kindest sense of the term. Some say, what can we do? It's Brazil. It's not our problem, right? It's not us. That's interesting. We make a lot of things our problem when we want to. We made Syria our problem. We made Iraq and Afghanistan and Libya and Vietnam and Korea our problems. Didn't we? Trump is making China our problem right now because he doesn't like that they have a better smartphone than we have or something. You know, he saw an anime movie that made him pee himself, and now we have a trade war. Anyway, we make things our problem when we want to, but the burning up of most of the rainforest on the planet, that's not our problem. If Bolsonaro were leaking DNC emails, we would have a drone missile up his rectum right now, okay? If he were pulling out of our centralized banking system, we would be saying he holds hands with terrorists. If he were revealing the crimes of the CIA, we would be hooking up a car battery to his Bolsonaros. Right now. Right now. So don't tell me it's not our problem. So considering the lungs of our planet are on fire, are there any so-called leaders here in the U.S. leading the way on dealing with climate change? Well, some guy named Bernie Sanders put forward a plan last week to deal with the climate crisis. It would mobilize resources on a level not seen since World War II, investing $16 trillion and creating 20 million jobs. But this is ridiculous, okay? Extinction would be so much easier. It would. Fox News wasted no time swatting down this crackpot let's all survive plan put forward by Grandpa Grabbag.
4 years ago, I came here to Iowa, and I was asked, what is the major national security issue we face? And people thought I'd say ISIS or Al-Qaeda, and those are big issues. The answer that I gave in terms of national security is climate change.
The biggest national security threat, according to Bernie Sanders, is climate change.
The left says it all the time. This is what they believe. It is their religion.
I'm really amazed at Fox News' ability to get neckties to stay on chimpanzees. I mean, it's because they're very squirrely. They're very quick. It's really, I'm really impressed. But yes, climate change is the religion of the left. If you cut out the data, the proof, the scientists, the evidence, if you just got rid of all of that, then climate change is just like religion. I'm not saying people can't have faith, but there's a reason it's called faith. Climate change is not faith. Climate change is fucking numbers and thermometers and nerds with calculators and all kinds of shit. You may really like your priest or rabbi. Maybe he's a great guy. Maybe he has a hell of a matzo ball soup. But I can tell you one thing, he doesn't have a fucking calculator.
The left says it all the time. This is what they believe. It is their religion. They want to fight the weather. The rest of us want to deal with real threats that want to take away our freedoms. Think about 4 years ago. What was that, 2015? ISIS was still, this was during Obama's term. ISIS was still a huge problem. The caliphate was there. President Trump ran on destroying ISIS, which he did to their physical caliphate. Now, there's remnants that we need to be concerned about today. That's taking on a real threat directly.
You can't argue with him there, right? Donald Trump took on ISIS. Don't you remember that time he went running across Syria, gutting terrorists with a knife between his teeth? It was truly incredible stuff. But Fox News is right. ISIS wants to take away our freedom. Just look at all the freedom they've taken away so far. We live in the most sophisticated surveillance state ever created. We have the largest prison system ever created. Small, nothing crimes can follow you your whole life. If you search for the wrong thing on a web browser, you might end up with ICE agents at your door. And in order to get on a plane, you have to get to at least second base with the TSA. Fuck you, ISIS! 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 If you can't say America doesn't have freedom, I mean, okay, here's the thing, though. Freedom, we do have some freedom, right? America does have some freedom left. I mean, we have the freedom to devote 24/7 cable news channel to people who clearly drank an entire bottle of bleach when their head was still soft. So I think that's very progressive of us. If we didn't give them jobs, they'd be out on the streets. ISIS is so conniving and sneaky that we haven't been able to find proof that they've killed almost anyone inside the United States. Somehow they were able to get our police officers to do that job. It's incredible. In fact, our police have killed 5,000 Americans since the 2014 Ferguson protests began. 5,000! 5,000! ISIS! Yes, our police are totally, completely out of control. But, okay, look over at England. It's not just us. Look over at England. Last year, their cops killed 4. So that goes to show it's a global problem. It's a lot like the opioid epidemic. Everybody acts like it's a major American problem. American. Only America's doing that. In fact, in other countries, a couple of people have died. They were Americans on vacation, but still, point still stands. Point still stands. However, there is some good news. This week, a major victory against Big Pharma. An Oklahoma judge ruled Johnson & Johnson must pay over $572 million for its role in the opioid crisis. That's a big win. But 130 people die a day from this epidemic. These big pharma execs should be, they should be strung up by their fucking toenails. They shouldn't have to, this is paying a parking ticket for the massacre they've caused. In fact, when did we do away with stringing up by the toenails? I don't recall voting on that. When did we? I want to bring back those. I want to bring back the stocks and the pillory where you stick the guy in the middle of town. You can't do anything, and then we all get to throw, garbage and cat shit at them. When you feel better, I feel better. When you feel better, here's the CEO of Johnson & Johnson, all right there. Tell me you don't want to see his face pelted with cat shit. Tell me. That would excite me. It really would. It would excite me. Sorry, that's what happens when a comedian orgasms. We have to go to a quick break, but Toronto, Los Angeles, Ventura, Milwaukee, Madison, I'm coming for you with live shows, tickets and details at redactedtour.com. I'll be right back with a lot more. Welcome back. The corporate consolidation of our news continues. Recently, Gannett, the largest newspaper publisher in the country, announced it would merge with Gatehouse, a digital publisher owned by a multi-billion-dollar investment firm called Fortress Investment Group. This means that they would own 1 in every 6 newspapers in the nation. What could go wrong? For more, we go to our senior consolidation expert, Natalie McGill. Natalie, this sounds like terrible news for anyone who cares about investigative journalism.
And it's great news for me, because I picked Gannett and Gatehouse as the next merger in my media consolidation pool. Now, I'd like to dedicate this $50 to all the amateur bettors who picked Disney. Rookie move. All right, everyone knows Disney will own all Americans by 2029.
Okay, that's probably true, but this merger affects over 600 papers. You used to be a local DC reporter. Do you think, are you concerned about the reporters who will go broke after getting laid off from this?
What do you mean will go broke? All right, the reason I only got $50 is because my pool was full of small-town journalists who could only afford a $1 buy-in. All right, that's why you shouldn't think of them as layoffs. Think of it as sparing someone a $19,000 a year salary to cover a podunk city council whose biggest vote of the year is on whether my grandma can raise chickens in her front yard. Now they won't need to get quotes from the ungrateful bitches whose kids wouldn't have eggs for their Easter egg hunt if it wasn't for Nana.
First of all, I think there are some more important votes than just that. But secondly, have you ever considered the local journalists maybe they should be paid what they're worth instead of living in fear of a corporate entity just gobbling up their paper?
Corporate entity? I think you mispronounced savior, all right? These papers wouldn't survive without the benevolence of Fortress Investment Group executive Wes Edens. Because of Wes, they can still cover their communities like they always have, as long as their coverage has nothing to do with climate change, fossil fuels, or fracking, since Edens also owns New Fortress Energy, a firm with investments in natural gas infrastructure.
That's horrifying! Why are you not horrified? Pollution from fracking threatens the health of small towns across this country.
But you don't want to bite the hand that feeds you. And reporters at Sinclair Broadcast Group certainly don't. Sinclair gives so much cash to Republicans that when Montana Congressman Greg Gianforte body slammed a Guardian reporter, a Sinclair-owned Montana NBC affiliate refused to cover his criminal pro wrestling move. Sometimes when corporate money is involved, you have to treat a big story the same way NBC News acts years after Brian Williams fabricated several stories, as if it never happened.
We already pretend a lot of things aren't happening when 6 corporations own something like 80% of all TV and print news in the country. This merger only gets rid of journalists who can hold corporations accountable for their greed. And if we didn't have paid and bought for politicians, we could reverse the laws that make these mergers possible in the first place.
Okay, well, if an unbought Congress can reverse the laws, they need to do it by 2029. All right, otherwise all journalists will be thrown into the Disney vault, never to be seen again. And I bet this $50 they can't leave until they watch both direct-to-DVD sequels of The Lion King, which is obviously cruel and unusual punishment.
Natalie McGill, everyone! Moving on. Everybody take a deep breath. Do you taste that? It's plastic, all right? You're breathing in plastics because we've laminated our planet. But who's counting? Here with more on the plastic panacea is Redacted correspondent Naomi Caravani.
Everyone lift your reusable water bottles for a toast to being kind to the environment. Ah, that's nice and chilled. And I'm just addicted to being right and the vodka I put in here. For decades, the plastic industry has convinced the world that saving the environment is a matter of personal responsibility. And they got us. Corporations that manufacture and use plastics have successfully fought regulation and can continue to pollute the earth with poisonous plastic, while we try to be as eco-friendly as possible.
Hey, what the hell? Who threw that?
Oh, that's gonna leave a mark.
You think?
You'll need an ice pack. A reusable one. Part of the campaign to keep plastics on the market and in the ocean is the promotion of recycling. Nearly everything can be recycled. Straws, shampoo bottles, coffee cups, babies. That's why people get so mad when you put a baby in the dumpster. Ugh, I can't believe this. Someone didn't separate their baby and their trash again. However, just 9% of all plastic ever produced has been recycled. The rest of it has been incinerated, releasing toxic chemicals, or piling up in landfills or in oceans. And recycled plastics tend to be more expensive than a new product and sometimes contain toxic chemicals. So internal documents of some plastic lobbyists admit that recycled plastics have no viable end markets. But what about this bottle cap wreath I worked on? And this condom I made from repurposed toothbrushes? For neither's pleasure. Nevertheless, we've been convinced that recycling will save us all.
7 schools are competing to collect the most plastic bags and plastic wrap to win a park bench for their school made from recycled plastic bags.
This campaign to get kids to love plastic bags is not unlike the decades of marketing that made single-use plastic seem indispensable for modern life. I myself grew up thinking, Why have people friends when I can have a plastic friend who never judges my taste in men because she dates a eunuch? In 2017, China stopped taking American recyclable plastic, causing plastic to pile up. Some cities are no longer accepting plastic recycling, saying it's no better than trash. So, as plastic production increases and landfills fill up and cities stop recycling, the industry is going to have to push plastic even harder. Look, it's a hat. Plastic makes great fish food. They love it. We found 88 pounds of plastic in one whale. They should practice moderation. That absurd school contest to collect the most plastic bags was sponsored by the American Progressive Bag Alliance, a lobbying group that fights restrictions on plastic. The alliance sponsors preemption bills in state houses in the country that makes it illegal for cities or states to ban plastic bags. This was a response to legislation banning plastics in states like Vermont and California. Of course, that's easy for Vermont to do because Vermonters raise their children in NPR donor totes. So while publicly the plastics industry supports recycling, behind closed doors, it fights regulation of plastics. And this has been a successful campaign waged for decades. You might recall the Weeping Indian ad from 1971.
People start pollution. People can stop it.
The possibility that people as individuals can stop pollution is just about as real as that Indian, who was actually an Italian-American actor. And in that case, he could have just said, "Pick up your trash, don't forget about it," and it would have been just as effective. That ad was sponsored by Keep America Beautiful, which is one among many anti-litter organizations bankrolled by the plastics industry. While it's still important to pick up after yourself, the reality is that our trash is piling up while the plastics industry is expected to grow more than 40% by 2028 in the US. So the plastics industry is gearing up for war. Not my words, theirs. They named a CEO who's a bit of a warrior, according to Plastics News. Oh great, a William Wallace of trash. But he will have to contend with us eco-friendly people. Reporting from Washington, this is Naomi Caravani for Redacted Tonight.
Here are your headlines from the future. As you may have heard, apparently Donald Trump actually asked advisors if he could stop a hurricane by dropping a nuclear bomb into it. I'm not kidding. Apparently he hasn't given up, though, because tomorrow you'll read, Trump proposes stopping hurricane by dropping nation's homeless into it. And 2 days, I'm just keeping it real. And 2 days from now, we'll learn Johnson & Johnson CEO asks if they can pay the $572 million they owe in opioids and asbestos baby powder. And this Wednesday, Charles Koch swears to continue brother's work of eating every last endangered species. That's our show, but I put up web-exclusive videos almost every day at youtube.com/redacted tonight. Go there right now. Click subscribe. Until next time, good night and keep fighting. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much.